Hey, what is going on, everybody out there? This is Jake James Lugo here at thecoalition.com. I'm with my man, Gary Swaby. My boy, Gary, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, man? Looking forward to discussing this show with you. So,
Yep.
yeah.
So this is going to be cool because we get to talk about Marvel's Luke Cage, the new Netflix series that's coming out on September 30th. Okay. So we got a chance to see the show early, which was awesome. So we're going to get into like the nitty gritty of like what we actually think about this Netflix show. Now, to be upfront with all of you guys, this is going to be a completely spoiler free review. So we're not going to get into the specifics of different events and what goes on in the show, different plot points that which happen. We're going to talk in a general sense about Marvel's Luke Cage. We're going to talk about some of the stuff that we liked about it, the way some of the stuff that we recommend and why people we think are going to really enjoy this type of stuff, and how else it's probably going to connect to the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe. But as far as like specific spoilery stuff, we're not going to get into that. So you guys could be at ease. Don't worry. By the time the show comes out later this month, you'll definitely be looking forward to a lot of interesting surprises, despite what we talk about in this stuff. So, Gary, let me start with you first. Did you like Marvel's Luke Cage?
Yeah, I actually really loved it. And I mean, one of the things I really like about, how Marvel set up their universe is you could have different shows that each have their own individual subgenre. And, with Luke Cage, it's like it's a real soulful kind of aura. And it's really focused on like African Americans in Harlem and stuff like that, and you really get that feel, but at the same time it's accessible to your average TV junkie. Like anybody could really enjoy this show and relate to it. Still, like there are a lot of relatable themes in there, even though even though it might be more appealing to a specific demographic. And that's what I really liked about the show, like the real soulful vibe, and the way that it's authentic in that Harlem setting.
So it's funny you use that phrase soulful because I think it fits perfectly with Luke Cage when like us talking about it and stuff. Because while it still tackles a lot of the difficult subjects of African American culture, it kind of blurs the line a little bit or walks the line a little bit of black exploitation, like that 1970s black exploitation genre from back in the day. Like when you start seeing a lot of those different films starring African American actors and actresses, getting to different subjects of race and culture, and being part of the streets or being part of that urban life and stuff. The way that I feel Luke Cage handles it is really tasteful, and it doesn't pander to you as a viewer. It doesn't talk down to you. It doesn't present stuff with one agenda or another. It just tries to give you multiple perspectives on the same subject. So, to give an example, when they're talking about the N word, this is like one of the biggest things. They kind of tackle it early in the series, but the way that they discuss it and the way that they present it, they don't necessarily present it in like completely in like a gangster gangbanger type of setting or type of presentation or anything of the sort. It does like show that or represent that in some form or fashion in all the episodes, but it also represents the flip side of that. Again, that 1970s vibe of like, back in the day when there was funk music and that, it blended together with martial arts / kung fu culture, which, by the way, big props to them to actually implementing that, because they kind of blur a little bit and implement a little bit of stuff there involving like, old school kung fu movies like Jet Li, Bruce Lee. I think they talked a little bit about Jackie Chan at one point. It was really funny to see that type of stuff, but it really kind of drew, again, going back to the phrase soulful, it drew a lot, again, of a film, of movies, again, what black culture was like back in that day and age, and how it kind of relates and how it could kind of, be juxtapositions to the modern day and what's going on now these days.
Yeah, for sure. You definitely hit the nail on the head with that. Definitely like how everything was presented, and I like how they handle the opposing side of of Luke Cage, like the guy who plays Cornell, I think his name is.
Yeah,
He's
Cottonmouth, right?
Yeah, Cottonmouth. Yeah, he's excellent, in his role, and I think overall the show was very well casted as well.
Definitely. Now I don't have the actors and actresses right in front of me right now, but that guy specifically, he was in House of Cards, and he was a phenomenal
Yeah,
actor in House of Cards, and he does a really good job in this one, being the quote unquote villain of this series. Like that, again, without getting into too spoiler-esque type of stuff, he does a great job with all the things that go down throughout the entirety of the series that we saw. One of the things also that I want to make clear, since we talked about all that stuff, which I feel that the show does a great job of tackling, it doesn't come off as just being specifically geared towards people that are interested in those types of themes. Like, it doesn't strictly become a series that has to deal with, again, African American culture or blaxploitation or anything of the sort. Like, it doesn't put itself and limit itself to just that type of discussion. It's still a Marvel series in of itself. It's still a Marvel superhero story. And one of the things that I thought was really cool is that while I was watching the entire series, I wasn't looking at Luke Cage as the black Marvel superhero, which I think is great, because it's real easy when you get into those types of topics or those types of themes, and really those discussions and those types of like dialogues between characters, it's easy to fall into that and to become almost a little bit hokey in that sense. But Luke Cage doesn't do that. Like, it has those discussions, but it still gets into other territory, and it allows itself to flex its muscles as far as being emotional, being engaging, really kind of throwing curveballs at you here and there as far as like the story and the plot is concerned. And also introducing a variety of different types of characters, not just limiting them to the color of their skin or the types of like, how they can relate to this one theme or that one theme and stuff. It really gets a whole bunch of stuff working together.
Yeah. And again, that's something I appreciate about the Marvel universe. Like, nothing really feels ham-fisted. It's not like they're trying to sell it as, the black superhero or anything like that. It's just it's a natural part of this world that they've created. And just like Jessica Jones, that's a show focused on a female. But when I watched that show, I never got that feeling that this was all girl power, all about women or anything like that. It just felt natural. And that's what I really love about this. Also, they did it really well.
Now, for me, comparing it to Jessica Jones, because I think that's the easiest comparison in the Netflix series of shows, because Luke Cage makes an appearance in Jessica Jones. That's where he's kind of like first introduced and stuff. With me, I felt mostly I'm in agreement with you. There was a few times where I felt like maybe it went a little bit overboard with that type of messaging. Again, it's from a female perspective, again, looking at things a little bit different and talking about those types of same discussions in similar vein of which Luke Cage does with African American culture. He talks about ideas of feminism and stuff, again, being a woman in the working world or being a woman in the real worlds like that for Jessica Jones, while the discussions in Luke Cage is about being a black man in the real world, or being a man. Really, it's not just being a black man, being a man in the real world and dealing with all these different types of stuff, whether it's hood or urban culture or just business type of culture, which I thought was really cool. Again, it really flexes itself and opens up a lot of different discussions, even though it's, not catering to one specific theme like that. But one of the other things I thought was kind of cool, I want to get your thoughts on this, the action in Luke Cage. I thought the action was pretty damn good. I thought it was a little bit better than Jessica Jones. Not as good as Daredevil. I think Daredevil right now, as far as the Netflix series, has the best action sequences and the best like fight scenes, in my opinion. But this one was kind of cool, and it made sense with Luke Cage's power set, because Luke Cage is supposed to be invincible. He's supposed to be unbreakable in some sense. Like, again, if you read the comics, the traditional Marvel comics where he appears in and stuff, a lot of his power set, comes from him. His skin is completely unbreakable. He's like bulletproof and all this other stuff. And they really use his powers in certain situations to his advantage. Again, it doesn't come off as cheesy or hokey. It comes off more as practical, like, oh, if a guy actually had these type of powers, this would make sense for him to take this type of action or to do this type of thing against this group of dudes.
Yeah, I mean, in general, this had much more action than Jessica Jones, but it makes sense why. Like, so that's the good thing. And one thing I give them credit for is they always tailor the action to, the individual starring. So this was about Luke Cage. He's got the indestructible skin, and on top of that, he's like a real powerful guy kind of thing. And the action really portrays that. And in Daredevil, he's more skilled and more trained as a fighter kind of thing. So I guess that's tailored more towards that. And that's why you see a lot of like martial arts and kung fu type scenes in that. I'm really interested to see what they'll do with Iron Fist when they do that, because I'm sure that will have some interesting action scenes also. But yeah, Luke Cage was fantastic with the the action.
Definitely. And again, going back to that comment you just made about Iron Fist, I'm the same way. I'm really hyped up to see Iron Fist. I'm really looking forward to that, because I think that could really be like a martial arts TV show. And I feel like that's where we're going to get the most action, because if you know the story of Iron Fist, again, he goes through like a lot of these different types of journeys. He goes to a monastery, a quote unquote like a Shaolin temple, because Iron Fist was created back in the 70s, in response to the martial arts or the kung fu movie craze that was going around. So I could definitely see a lot of that stuff, making its way, or like really kind of catering to that style of genre and seeing more action coming out of Iron Fist. But it still does very similar stuff here in Luke Cage. And again, they really make nods to that level of culture, or at least that, that time frame, again, where there was kung fu movies and stuff. And they have those dialogue sessions, which I felt were fun. It was kind of like, it was a little bit self-aware, and they were kind of poking fun at stuff, not only back then, but also stuff going on here during the modern day. But what really not necessarily getting too deep into it. It was just fun commentary on a few little spots here and there. Like, what did you think of that?
Yeah, I really liked those references to the martial arts and the kung fu flicks and stuff, and they did it in good taste as well. Like it was real. There was a level of humor in there. What was that?
I was saying it was never thrown in your face.
Oh no, yeah, it was never thrown in your face. It just it flowed. It seemed natural, and a couple times there's even a level of humor there, which is pretty cool.
Definitely. Now, in your opinion and stuff, after having seen this series, so far, and probably I'm guessing you've seen the other Netflix series, correct? The Daredevil, Jessica Jones, etc.
Yeah.
So do you think so far the Marvel Netflix series they're on a good path so far? Like, is there good stuff looking up for Iron Fist, and then obviously later on the Defenders?
Yeah, I mean, I think these shows have been fantastic. I mean, Marvel also has Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is on a TV network. That show
True.
is kind of hit or miss.
It's not as good
for me. Yeah, it's kind of hit or miss. Like sometimes it's good, sometimes it's meh. But these Netflix shows have been awesome, and I think it's because Netflix has that creative freedom to push the bar in a way that you can't on network TV really. So they can really get down to the nitty gritty and really show who these characters are, and that's what's excellent about all three of these shows so far. And I can't wait for Iron Fist, and I can't wait for Punisher and the Defenders, because I feel like they're all going to be pretty awesome.
Definitely. I mean, the one, like you said, I think the best aspect about this and why the Netflix shows are so good is because they don't have to feel like they have to limit themselves. Because with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because it's on national TV like that, they can't go into certain territory. I think the darkest that they've gone with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is now the introduction of Ghost Rider. And I saw the stuff that went down with Ghost Rider. It was actually pretty good. But the only thing is that it will never kind of like break through that barrier of like being, PG. For the most part. Like, again, I don't want to really say PG too much because I think maybe that's like the wrong expression, but it'll never get into the same type of territory or the same type of discussions that what you're going to see in Luke Cage and what you've been seeing in Jessica Jones and even Daredevil to some extent, or that same level of violence and those fight scenes that you got in Daredevil, or even some of the stuff you got in Luke Cage now. I always felt like that was the leg up of the Netflix series, because not only you could still get all those episodes like in one shot and just binge watch them, which I think is great and has worked to the Netflix series advantage, again, because it's Netflix and you're able to do that, but also because it never feels like they're not gonna miss out on some sort of territory. I will say this: Luke Cage is a very mature show. It's not mature in the sense where there's like constant sex, blood, and violence, and there are some of those things, but it's a mature show in the way it handles those types of stuff. It has it when it needs to. It doesn't constantly throw it in your face, because that's very easy to get into, especially when you start getting into stuff like dealing with urban culture, with gangster culture, and stuff like that, where it kind of touches on in the show. It's easy to get lost in that. And I felt like Luke Cage didn't have that same type of problem. It had it here and there, but it wasn't solely a focus like that for like a whole episode or something.
Yeah. And another thing I really loved about Luke Cage is like, because in Daredevil, you have Kingpin as the villain, and he always comes off as this tough guy and everything. And then in Jessica Jones, you have Kilgrave, and you already know like he's very tormenting and stuff. But in this, with Cottonmouth, you get to see a lot of his backstory and his vulnerabilities as a person as well. And I like that whole build up of his character as well as Luke Cage. I think they did a great job of that, building up both characters.
Now, funny you mention that, because I've always felt that the villains in the Marvel series and even the movies have been somewhat weak They're not as developed as the heroes. They're not, given as much attention as it is with the heroes. Again, a lot of people bring up examples like Ant-Man and a few others here and there, which are perfectly valid. I felt this one, what made Cottonmouth so interesting to me throughout the series, in a similar vein to what they did with Wilson Fisk, besides the fact that you're spending a lot more time with them, we got to see many facets of them as characters. We got to see them at their most vicious. We got to see them at their most fun, their most laid back, their most, scared. It doesn't matter. There's a variety of different emotions that you see with Cottonmouth. And I think the same thing you got with Wilson Fisk and Daredevil. Not so much with Kilgrave. I mean, you did see a lot of those different things, again, because the Netflix series have a lot more time to devote to that stuff because they're longer series. There's more time devoted to the storytelling. But I always felt that was the better aspect of the villains in the Netflix series shows for Marvel. Again, with Wilson Fisk, to me, being the best one, because I think the actor for that role is phenomenal. I think he has such a presence. And the cool thing is that I wanted to bring up, and, moving on to the next point, was that the effects of the previous shows and the previous movies can be felt in Luke Cage, because they reference Wilson Fisk. They reference the incident, and the incident that they refer to is the stuff that went down in Age of Ultron, or not Age of Ultron, Avengers, stuff that's been going on with the previous movies and stuff. And I thought those were cool references because it didn't become something that was like, oh, this is the reason why this is happening. It was like something that was going on in the background while everything else was still kind of isolated in Harlem.
Yeah, definitely. And I love how they, make those references and make it feel connected, because obviously it's two different teams that do, these shows and then the movies, but they still manage to tie it in to where it makes sense and it feels like it's in a connected world. And, I've even, I read an article about a week ago or something that said they're actually considering putting some of these Netflix characters in the Infinity War movie.
Oh, that's got to happen. That's got to happen.
That it's going to be so awesome just to see like Daredevil and Luke Cage just kicking butt, in their neighborhoods and stuff like that. Like that would just be so cool to see even if it's just like a quick clip or something, because I'm sure they won't have a major role. It's just going to be cool to see,
I mean, honest to God, I feel like, again, going off of that point, I feel like that is going to happen because I think we're going to get the big Marvel team up shot. And what I mean by that is, if you've read Marvel comics in the past, they always have that big Marvel team up, like, comic, those one issues or those compilations where it's like all these different superheroes from the different avenues of the Marvel universe come together to fight like a big baddie or to get like a big superhero blowout where they're fighting a bunch of villains and stuff. I think we're going to get that in cinematic form with Infinity War. And I think it would be a great travesty not to include these heroes, because not only we know these heroes from devoting so much time to them, watching their stories unfold, but also we're getting a lot of team ups that, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're getting not only the Avengers with their own unique movies, and that's one team. We got Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a whole nother team, even though they've had like maybe one movie so far and they're getting a second. And then now we're going to get the Defenders after Iron Fist. So we're getting all these different like teams that are coming together in their own little respective quote unquote like series or anthologies, I like to call them. I think that the biggest like payoff for fans that have been devoting so much time to all this stuff, all these movies and all these series, was to see all those teams come together into one big fight. Because I'm telling you right now, I would love to see Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Fist and stuff standing next to the Avengers. I think they've earned it at this point.
That would be so awesome to see, like just all of them.
Jessica Jones too. Jessica Jones and Black Widow working together, and Captain Marvel. Keep in mind, we're getting a Captain Marvel movie, which is in of itself is awesome. Like that, that there's so many different things that are set up right now to be really amazing by the time Avengers: Infinity War comes out.
Yeah, like in the first Avengers movie where they're all together in Manhattan, and like there's a shot where the camera just pans right around them and they're all together. Like that would be like that moment recreated if you see, the Netflix characters and, the main Avengers guys all together and the Galaxy guys all together, in one shot. That would just be awesome.
But dialing it back a little bit, because I know we're getting into much more greater Marvel Universe territory here, or Cinematic Universe territory, to go back to more of the Netflix shows, to go back to Luke Cage and stuff. I think that so far from what we've seen, with all the different shows, leading up now to Luke Cage and then eventually what's going to be Iron Fist, I think the Defenders is looking pretty good. I really want to see Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Daredevil all in the same room now at this point. Now, the funny thing is, they always tease, like in the last two shows, both in Jessica Jones and in Luke Cage, they tease little things here and there about Daredevil, about some of the other characters. Okay, I think the payoff that we're finally going to get with the Defenders is going to be awesome.
For real, yeah. And obviously we can't spoil this show, but yeah, some of the stuff they did was I love how it, you know, all connects and stuff. For sure.
It's interesting. It's very interesting, and one of the things I think is cool. And again, we saw this more in Jessica Jones. So, like speaking to that, I felt like you could feel the other characters' presence throughout the show. You know, again, no matter what's going on in the series of stuff, you always get a sense like, oh, they're referring to this guy in Hell's Kitchen. What's going on over here? Or I know a guy, he's a lawyer, you know, that could actually help us out, which I think is kind of cool, you know, to know that type of stuff, which I think is great. But to wrap it up, right, to kind of wrap up this entire discussion, what do you think is the best aspect about Luke Cage as a series?
Best aspect, that's definitely a tough one. I don't want to give too much of a vague answer because I really like the feel and the setting of it, but that's too vague. So I'm just gonna say character development. Like I really loved the character development because they don't just spend time, you know, on Luke Cage. They build a lot of other characters, and again, going back to Cottonmouth, I really love how they set that up and built his character along with Luke Cage. I think they did an excellent job of that, and they also introduced other, you know, side characters that were pretty excellent as well. So
definitely,
yeah.
definitely, I'm with you on that one. For me, I think that the acting was phenomenal. I think that the storytelling was great. The action sequences were cool. But what really did it for me personally was the music, and it's a thing I notice in the Marvel Netflix series. They have great soundtracks. They're not the most memorable, but they're the most tone setting. And what I mean by that is every single Netflix show, they have a different type of style of music, or at least genre of music, that really caters to that series. Like with Daredevil, it was that grungy, hard, you know, kind of like action-y type of music. With Jessica Jones, it was somewhat similar, but a little bit different, a little bit lighter. It kind of blended along the lines of not dance, but like, you know, club music to a sense. A little bit. I know that might be a little bit outlandish to say, but like there was hints of that made it feel different than Daredevil. And this one with Luke Cage, it was more that 1970s funk, like that action funk that you would get in Shaft, or you would get in like, you know, Enter the Dragon, that type of style of music, which I think worked to its favor. And it's cool because it's a juxtaposition because it's taking place in the modern day. And just the way that, again, all the stuff plays out in the story, you know, Luke Cage as a character, you know, seeing him go through all this different stuff, I think that was awesome. That's what really made me stick with this series.
Yeah, you're definitely right about the music selection. Like they did a great job with that. And, you know, obviously as a hip hop fan myself, I love that, you know, they blend the whole hip hop feel as well into it. And I really like that. And, you know, because Cottonmouth, well, I don't want to spoil too much, but, you know, there's a lot of club scenes with people performing and stuff. And it's just really cool to see. So, yeah.
Definitely. I mean, again, going back to that with the hip hop, the 1970s funk juxtapositions next to the hip hop, modern day hip hop. And they change up the music here and there. Like, so when different characters come on screen, you're hearing different types of style of music when they're speaking or like in the background and stuff like that. I thought that was kind of cool. And I enjoyed it. It really set up the entire scene, all the scenes very well.
Yeah, for sure. Sure, man.
Definitely. So we're giving the seal approval to Luke Cage so people can look forward to it on the 30th.
Yep, definitely gets my seal of approval. I can't wait till everybody sees it. I want to hear more opinions. I want to hear what everybody thinks of it once it's released because, you know, I love the show myself. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to release day just to hear what people are saying about it.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to those discussions in the comments section on YouTube, social media. See what everybody's going to think, because I'm pretty sure when this comes out, everybody's going to binge watch it. Like what we did. We binge watched. So that's what you do with these series. I did it for Daredevil and Jessica Jones, so I did it for this one. So the other thing, too, it makes me really hyped up for Iron Fist. Like now seeing this gets me hyped up for Iron Fist. Like I'm all in now with Marvel on the Netflix series.
For real. And one of my favorite Marvel characters is actually the Punisher. So, you know, I can't wait for his show too.
He definitely needs to get one. He definitely needs to get one. Like I don't know if they confirmed or confirmed it yet. It's confirmed. Okay, so yeah, he definitely needs to get a series like that, because I think it'd be cool to have all these, like, not the same type of level of characters like the Avengers are in the Marvel universe, but we have like all these other characters that we could look at and get these phenomenal stories from, which is awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
So with that being said, guys, we're going to wrap up this discussion about Luke Cage. It gets the seal of approval from the both of us. Definitely look forward to it. Marvel's Luke Cage is going to be on Netflix on September 30th. It's about 13 or so episodes for you guys to check out. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it. Hopefully you guys will have a good time, get hyped up for the rest of the Netflix shows or the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Leave us comments down below in this video, and as well as also in the comment section on thecoalition.com. Let us know what you think about this. Don't forget to send us any sort of questions, comments, concerns, or any other ideas that you guys might have about Marvel or any of this stuff over to our social media. You could catch me at VenomousFatman1 on Twitter. Gary, where can they catch you on Twitter?
Yeah, I'm Gary Swaby. That's GarySwaby. So yeah, hit me up on Twitter for sure.
Nice. Any final shout outs, Gary, before we wrap up?
Shouts to all the listeners and everybody who follows the Coalition. Check the site out, thecoalition.com. You know, we've got a lot of gaming podcasts, a lot of TV show podcasts, and, you know, obviously, movies and stuff like that. You know, we're just doing great things at the Coalition right now. So thanks everybody who's supporting us.
Nice. Same here. Same sentiments that Gary expressed here. Also, let us know if you guys want to see more discussions like this, because I love talking about these series. I love talking about movies and such. And again, I just love watching them on top of that. So just, having the different types of discussions and opinions about them is just great. But let us know if you guys want to see more of this type of stuff, and we'll try to make it happen for all of you. So from the both of us here at thecoalition.com, we will talk to all of you guys again real soon. Peace out. Stay epic, everybody.
Peace.